there, this is Daka, and welcome to its Wrestling Time Post Show. It is Saturday, July 15th, 2023, and tonight I will be reviewing Impact Wrestling Slammiversary, but I'm not alone. Joining me for this review, please help me welcome my TNA IW Go Power Rankings co-host. He's no longer Macklin, and he's the third member of the Rascal. He's always the star of the show, no matter what show he's on. The one and only Burt Macklin.
Hey, Dottie, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yes, it's definitely going to be fun. We're just missing Lucha and the whole Power Rankings gangs would be here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so a lot happened on tonight's Slammiversary. We saw 5 out of 6 title changes. We saw a couple of returns. But let's start talking about the main event, which featured Shelley versus Nick Aldis. Now, this was the final title match of the night, and this was the main event. And I have to say, I'm really happy that Shelley retained here. I was really worried for Shelley, considering we had so many title changes tonight. Overall, I thought it was a good match. I can't complain too much about the match, but let's talk about what happened at the end. Josh Alexander coming back, grabbing a microphone and saying he is back. I have a feeling they're going to set up Josh Alexander versus Shelley, possibly maybe at could it be at Bound for Glory? Could it be at Emergence? But this is definitely going to be interesting. Josh Alexander returning to reclaim what he never lost. What are your thoughts on the main event and Shelley retaining, and of course Josh Alexander's big return tonight?
I didn't, going into the match, I didn't really conceive that Impact was going to do 6 for 6 and title changes. So I thought there was a good chance that Shelley would retain, just especially since this is his first reign and he really deserved it. My concern started in when the match ended with 10 minutes before the end of the hour, just because it seemed like something could happen. And my worry is just because I don't want this to just be in everyone's mind that, okay, well, now we know who Shelley is losing to, just because I don't think it should be an automatic that, since we're doing the old cliche that Josh is going to reclaim the belt that he never lost, I wouldn't have him necessarily beat Shelley for it unless it involves some sort of a heel turn for Josh. Just because as it's put together right now, they are two baby faces. So I'm very interested to see how we get from now until their eventual match, if that's the direction they're going to go.
I have to say, I do agree with you. When the match ended early, I was like, wait, what's going to happen here? Because I was like, this ended early. Somebody's going to give. And then when Josh Alexander came out, I was like, oh my God, he's back. For the record, I thought Josh Alexander was going to be out a lot longer than he was. But hey, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens this week on Impact.
He was doing his best impression of Super Cena when he came back from the injury at the Royal Rumble really quick.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about. Nice reference. All right. Now, I want to bring this up because I don't know how you felt about this match, and I really did enjoy this match. Now, I wasn't surprised by the outcome, but I was a little shocked. Double Dave Boy saying, welcome back, Josh Alexander. Yes, welcome back to Josh. But I was a little surprised how things went down. Deonna Purrazzo losing to Trinity by submission. I was shocked. My jaw dropped because, okay, I'm not mad that Trinity won. I'm just surprised that she won by submission. Deonna Purrazzo doesn't tap out to anybody, but she tapped out to Trinity. I was shocked. But I really enjoyed this match. That was a really good match. But let me tell you something. When Trinity kicked out of the Queen's Gambit on that ring apron, I was like, my jaw dropped. Because I was like, nobody really kicks out of Queen's Gambit. I think only one other person has. And I was like, oh my God. But what are your thoughts on this match? And of course, Trinity winning by submission.
Well, Trinity just getting the win would have automatically made it a huge deal. But I think her tapping out Deonna, who is on her way to being an Impact legend, just makes this an even bigger deal. Just because, like you said, Deonna doesn't tap out. So the idea of Trinity making her submit, I just think puts Trinity on another level again. And because she, again, before Impact, she was already a star from, when she was in her previous company. But I think this is kind of cements her now as a top star in Impact. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go next and who her next opponents will be.
Same, definitely. And that I don't think this feud is over. Deonna is obviously going to get a rematch. And the question is, if Deonna loses, then we can see, okay, well, what's Trinity's next feud? Where do we go from here? So I'm very curious to see what happens with this whole Trinity and Deonna feud and where we go from here. But it's a new era, I guess you can say, in Impact.
Definitely.
All right. So now let's kick things off with the countdown to Slammiversary, which featured a 6-person tag match. It was Gisele Shaw, Savannah Evans, Vidal versus Jodi Threat, and the Dead Dollz. First of all, I have to say, Gisele Shaw got a new music, which I can't complain. I actually really liked um her new music. What about you? What did you think of her music?
Yeah, no, and I thought this was a fun match. Good, I'm not saying a typical opener, but usually there's a multi-person match, to open a show like this, and yeah, I really liked it. It was fun, and yeah, music was good.
Yeah, I think they coined themselves Thread Dolls, which wouldn't be, doesn't sound too
Yeah,
bad of a name. So I
no.
am actually going to see if this is going to be a pairing going forward or if this was just a one-time thing. But hey, who knows? I'm sure you're going to be excited to talk about this match, the Digital Media Championship match. It was Joe Hendry versus Kenny King with Shelton Jean in his corner. So this was the first time ever match. Joe Hendry's 15-0 in singles matches, and he is the longest reigning digital media champion in Impact. So, as you know, Joe Hendry always, before every match, cuts a promo, and he was talking about how he loves. I was talking about how Kenny King loves losing his clothes so much, and that he wanted Henry to join in and losing his clothes, but he didn't plan on losing his clothes tonight because he's no stripper. And that, they believe in 252 pounds of pure motivation, the answer to all of life's problems. And according to commentary, this was his 247th day as digital media champion. And you know what? If it wasn't going to be Kenny King, I did not know who was going to take the digital media title off of Joe Henry. But what are your thoughts on Kenny King defeating Joe Henry and becoming the new digital media champion?
Well, not only is he the king of the night, I think he had the shirt of the night. Kenny King looking fly coming to the ring. I think that, and then obviously you saw Shelton Jean with the assistants to get that win, holding King's feet on the ropes. Like you said, if it wasn't going to be King, who else is it going to be? So I'm looking forward to see what they do with Kenny King. I think that this is the best he's looked since being in Impact in the times that he's been with Impact, because I think this is his third time with Impact. But yeah, congratulations to him. Well deserved. It was time for a change anyway, so I'm glad we saw it.
First of all, I'm really surprised you saw that foot on the rope since you seem to turn a blind eye to heel tactics.
Good point. Yeah.
You're just like, what? What happened? How? What? I'm just messing with you, Bert. But no, I'm really curious to see what we do with Kenny King. You think him and Shelton Jean should go after the tag titles?
I wouldn't mind that, but as we'll get to later, I think that the tag division is pretty stacked right now.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So the main card kicked off with the Ultimate X match. It was Alien Angels versus Kevin Knight versus Jonathan Gresham versus Speedball Mike Bailey versus Kushida. And there was a 6-person in this match, and it was a returning Jake something. And the winner of this match gets an opportunity to challenge for the X Division title. So I have to say, I was pretty surprised to see Jake something. He's been away from Impact for over a year, and I have to say, like, he came back looking hella strong. I mean, he looked like a beast out there. He was throwing people around, he was whipping ass. But I feel like also another standout performance in this match was Alan Angels. That double Spanish fly that he did to Jonathan Gresham and Speedball Mike Bailey was pretty freaking amazing. And not only that, he was giving everybody a low blow. He gave a low blow to Jonathan Gresham. He gave a low blow to Speedball Mike Bailey. He was just giving everybody low blows here.
And like, oh yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Your thoughts on Jake Something and Alan Angel.
I think going into the match, you knew what you were going to get from like the usual stuff, like the usual players in terms of Gresham, and then obviously Mike Bailey's always showing up. He had that huge moonsault off the top of the structure. But for me, besides Angels, I agree with you on that, and Jake Something as well. I think when Kevin Knight's on the screen, you really can't take your eyes off of him. He just looks like a star. And I think that, again, even though Kevin Knight didn't win, I think that Impact has big plans for him and just in terms of what they can do with him. So, yeah, that was a really fun match.
Definitely. And to follow up on Kevin Knight, I do agree. He's a star in the making, too. He was also pretty good in this match, too. I really like that moment that he had with Kushida when it was him, Kushida, Johnny Gresham, and Speedball and Mike Bailey, because he's been tagging with Kushida, so I really like that. Speaking of Kushida picking up the victory here. I was kind of surprised that he did, but then I was like, no, wait, Chris Sabin is X Division champion. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna get Kushida Polly versus Sabin. I kind of thought Alan Angels was gonna low blow him and take that X from him.
That would have, because when they said that you have to touch the floor, I thought they were gonna do something where Kushida would have had the X, but somebody would have grabbed it as he went to the floor. So, I was looking for something like that as well.
Yeah, same. But this was a really good match. Really fun opening match to kick off the show. And you know what? I'm happy Kushida won. I was rooting for Alan Angels, though. But hey, I cannot wait to see, especially with who won, with who is X Division champion now. I'm very curious to see what they do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a Kenny King backstage interview, and he talks about how he just beat up Joe Hendry. Mm-hmm. He says he danced, dodged, and stripped Hendry of his title, and he calls himself the DMC. He's cutting edge. He calls Alex Shelley MySpace, Chris Sabin Twitter, and he says that his title is the only title that matters. And you know what? After this promo, I was like, we got big things in store for Kenny King as digital media champion. Your thoughts on this promo?
Yeah, I just think that when Kenny King has the mic, you should listen. I think when cutting promos was never the problem for him, and I'm glad that kind of the win cements him as the star that I've always thought he would be. So I thought the promo was money.
I definitely do agree. I cannot wait to see more of Kenny King as digital media champion. So next, we have the Knockouts World Tag Team title match. It is the Coven versus a newly formed team, Masha, Slamovich, and Killer Kelly, or as they're being called, MK Ultra. Yes, that is their tag name, as it was tweeted out by Impact's Wrestling Twitter. So first of all, they got new music, and they've never tagged together, so it was going to be quite interesting to see how they worked well together. Let me see. It was at work when Slammiversary was on, but I was sneak watching some matches. I think some of us have done that too in the past. So I have to say, I actually really liked Killer Kelly, Masha, Slamovich. I thought that for this being their first official tag match, I thought they worked really well together, and they wore matching attire. So, but I think we all saw this coming. I think we all knew Masha, Slamovich, and Killer Kelly were going to be victorious. And I think with them winning the Knockouts title, it does inject a new life into the Knockouts tag team titles. Hopefully now we start to slowly build a division. But I'm happy with that they won the tag titles, and I can't wait to see what Impact does with them. What about you?
Well, I think anytime you have a first-time team, there's a lot of convincing that needs to be done, that just in terms of like, okay, how's this team going to work and what's it going to look like? And is it going to be something to buy in long term? And like you said, from the gear into the way they work together, I think I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with, and just based on their kind of characters and the way they've been portrayed. I don't know who's going to stop this team. They just I don't know who could take the belts off of them.
Certainly is not the Coven.
Yeah.
All right, we got Bully Ray and Deonna versus Scott Moore and a mystery partner that we didn't know who it was going to be, with Darren McCarty as special enforcer. So I have to say, originally this was supposed to be Bully Ray and Steve Macklin, but as we all know, he got injured. And Scott Moore's partner was originally supposed to be PCO, but Steve Macklin and Bully Ray took care of him. Not only did they set him on fire, they poured battery acid down his throat. So everybody was wondering who Scott Moore's partner was. As you saw on the Go Home show to Slammiversary, he made a call. And that phone call was made none other to Eric Young. Now, some of you guys are probably wondering to yourselves, Eric Young, isn't he signed to WWE? Correction, he was signed. And I've got a report here. So, Fightful Select reports that Eric Young had been under a WWE contract since last year after leaving Impact. And we all know how he left Impact. I mean, Deonna stabbed him. He basically murdered him on TV. It says last fall he was approached by Triple H about returning to WWE as an in-ring only capacity and signed with the company at the start of November 2022. However, he would ask for his release just a few months later. Fightful Select confirms that Eric Young asked for his release in April 2023. It was granted and he finished his 90-day no-compete clause last week. We were told by WWE sources that his request for release was right after the announcement of Endeavor's deal with WWE, and this wasn't a coincidence. Eric Young didn't want to work with Vince McMahon after the Endeavor deal was announced, and it was evident McMahon was back in the fold in an official capacity. WWE sources confirmed that Eric Young has cited moral, creative, personal reasons as to why he didn't want to work with Vince McMahon. So there you have it. Eric Young was signed to WWE. He requested his release, and it seems like now he's back in Impact Wrestling. I haven't read anything that he signed or how long the deal is, but we can just assume that he has officially signed with Impact. And, I have to say, this was really great. The crowd was singing the Canadian national anthem. I thought this was a really fun match. Especially, we got the return of Team Canada. I know Lucha and Jeff have been plugging Team Canada for a while now, but what are your thoughts on Eric Young's return to Impact? Team Canada coming out.
Yeah, I think it's fitting just because, the name Slammiversary, I think this was Impact's. I think what went on in this match was almost a love letter to Impact's history. You had Team Canada coming back with Eric Young. You had the Team Canada theme song. You had A1 getting involved. I think this was just, like I said, it was a love letter to Impact's history, you know what I mean? And especially Team Canada. And so, I think this was a really fun match. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and I enjoyed it.
Same. Scott Moore hitting that Canadian Destroyer to Deonna, which was followed up with an elbow by Eric Young. Speaking of Deonna, though, Deonna looked like he saw a ghost at the very beginning of this match. Mind you, as like I said, Deonna was the reason Eric Young was murdered, got stabbed. But and then they put Bully Ray through a table. So like you said, a fun match. I can't complain too much about it. I really enjoyed the match, and I'm wondering if Team Canada is going to be a staple going forward, or if this was just a one-time thing. But it was nice to see them come back.
Definitely.
We get a Nick Aldis promo, and he was basically saying is Shelley can handle the pressure, and he's going to close the book on Shelley as a transitional champion, and he will open a new book as champion. So, as Lucha always points out, all Nick Aldis does is talk, and yet he's made his way to the power ranking so many times. So, what do you think of Nick Aldis' promo?
Yeah, shout out to Lucha. I think this is just a case in point of it's mostly talk with him. I mean, he can cut a good promo, but I think it's just but that promo doesn't really that promo did its job in just in terms that I wanted to see him lose, just because the shots he was taking at Shelley. But again, it's more talk than wrestling for me.
Yeah, shout out to Lucha. Lucha, wherever you're at, if you're listening or you're watching, shout out to you. So next we get the X Division Championship match. It's Lio Rush versus Chris Sabin. I have to say, I was a little surprised by how things went down here. Lio Rush attacking Chris Sabin before the start of the match. He hit his head on the ramp, and the official and the referee went to go check up on him. Sabin pushed the ringside doctor out of the way, and as the match was starting, he didn't even get a chance to take off his jacket. Lio Rush drop kicked him, and then he came to the side of the head and did the final hour twice. So I don't know if Lio Rush winning was supposed to be the original plan, or did Alex Shelley, did Chris Sabin legitimately get hurt here, and they had to change the do you know what happened here? Because I was surprised by how things went down.
I don't know ish in terms of if this was the plan, or if Chris Sabin got hurt and they had to change the outcome on the fly. But regardless of that, I think it established Lio Rush as one of the top heels in the company, because he just beat, arguably one of the favorites. You know what I mean? The Guns are universally loved. So I think all it did was elevate Lio in just terms of a top heel. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they do, and wait and see, what comes out about, if Sabin's hurt, if this is a legit injury, so we don't know yet.
Yeah, I was trying to find any news report or any reports, and so far I haven't found anything. So it's I do wonder if this was a legitimate injury, and like you said, they had to change it on the fly, or I guess we'll find out
Yeah.
in the coming days. But yeah, Lio Rush, new X Division champion, and so that means Kushida's gonna have to face him at some point. That should be a good match, honestly.
And real quick, and I just think it's appropriate, just because two of the three of the power rankings committee, or two of the hosts are here. I'd be willing to say, and by the way, tune into our show. I think this is going to really affect. I'm predicting a defeat of the Machine Guns at number one. I don't see how they can't be number one with one of their team, especially in the manner that he lost. I think if it was a competitive match, yes, maybe you could see the Machine Guns be number one, but it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting when the rankings come out.
And to follow up on that, didn't we talk about this in this past week's episode? What if Alex Shelley lost? How would that affect their standing in the power rankings?
Obviously, if Shelley would have lost, it would have been a bigger blow, just because it's the world champion. There's still a chance that they could be number one, but I think this is going to be the tightest week for power rankings in just terms of, will the Guns be able to pull off that number one spot? I personally don't think so.
I don't think so either. I mean, Alex Shelley might have powered them enough, but I think Alex Shelley will make the power rankings, but I think we're going to split the Machine Guns up on the power rankings, because Chris Sabin, unfortunately, I don't think he would make it. Alex Shelley alone will make it.
I think we're but I think we're looking at a number one spot for Trinity, personally. Same. I think she's taking that number one spot, which is well deserved.
For those of you wondering what we're talking about, over on TNA IW, talking nonsense about Impact Wrestling, Bert, myself, and Lucha, who is not here, we discuss a week's episode of Impact, and we rank wrestlers, the top 10 wrestlers of this week's Impact, from number 10 to number 1 being the overall best wrestler of the week. And we do so using a Power Rangers gimmick, which is why it's called Go-Go Power Rankings. So in case anybody's watching, we actually have 2 or 3 episodes on my channel, but the rest are over on TNA IW. You guys want to check those out. So we get a quick Alex Shelley backstage interview. I mean, this wasn't even an interview, because he was asked how if Chris Sabin losing affected his mindset, he didn't even answer. He just like walked away. And I think that said a lot about where he was before his big title defense. What do you
Well,
think?
yeah, because it just shows that his love for his tag team partner that he has. You know what I mean? He was concerned about Chris Sabin, but at the same point, he couldn't let that get in his head too much because he did have a world title match of his own. You know what I mean? So he kind of had to compartmentalize it a little bit. He could be upset, but then he still had to focus on business and the task at hand.
Exactly, I agree with you. So next, we get the 4-way for the Impact World Tag Team titles. It was ABC versus SubCulture versus Sami, Callihan, and Rich Swann versus Moose and Brian Myers. So this was a really fun match. So much happened. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a hard time keeping up with all the notes because everything was like there was so much going on at once. I was pretty surprised by who won this match. I'm not mad that they won. I was actually pulling for them. If it wasn't going to be ABC, I was pulling for them to win. SubCulture defeating Brian Myers, Moose. Well, they pinned Brian Myers in this match to capture the Impact World Tag Team titles. And if it wasn't, I don't know how you feel about this, and you might get mad at me for saying this, but my opinion, if it wasn't for the Rascals, ABC would have won because Chris Bay hit the Art of Finesse and Ace Austin was about to hit the fold when the Rascals inserted themselves into this and attacked them. Okay, I know you're probably getting mad at me, probably cursing in your head because I'm blaming the Rascals, but it's the truth.
I have a bunch of things to say about this match. First off, I think it really I love the name The Most Professional Wrestler and then Brian Myers taking the pin just because he seems like a guy who wants the best for wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't mind taking a pin. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother him. You know what I mean? Two, I think what this match represents, I love tag team wrestling, and I just think that including you had 5 teams out there. You know what I mean? And any one of them could be tag team champions, in my opinion. But I just think that between SubCulture and ABC, who were in the match, and then the Rascals, those 3 teams are just so cool. And I'm fine with any one of them being champion. You know what I mean? So again, like, I love ABC. I'm sad they're lost, but I'm happy we have new champions in SubCulture. It's a chance to make new stars. And then the Rascals with a chip on their shoulder, which is going to lead to the Rascals versus ABC, which, again, anytime you can get a marquee feud where there's no belts on the line, it just shows the depth of your company. So, again, I don't mind the result because, again, Bay didn't get pinned. It was extracurriculars outside, and then SubCulture. I don't think anyone gets hurt in this match. I don't think anyone is affected. Sami Callihan hasn't won a belt in forever, and he's still over. So belts aren't what they used to be. It's just in terms of if you don't have one, you're not over.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was pulling for ABC, but I was also pulling for SubCulture, so I'm really happy SubCulture won. They've been impressive since they came over to Impact Wrestling. And, I can't wait to see what SubCulture does, who their first feud is with, So, cannot wait. All right, so next we get Eddie Edwards with Alisha Edwards versus Frankie Kazarian and the original knockout, Traci Brooks. I honestly didn't think this was a bad match. I actually really enjoyed this match. Eddie Edwards, oh my god, did you see the spot where Eddie Edwards yelled at Rebel, the son of Frankie Kazarian and Traci Brooks?
Wait, who did he yell at?
Rebel, the son of Frankie Kazarian.
Oh,
did you see that?
I think I did not see that, but that's funny. That's good heel stuff.
Yeah. So let me see. Hi, the SubCulture is a good business move for Impact. What they can do in the UK, yeah. Like I said, SubCulture's been impressive since they came to Impact. So I'm really glad they won. So I have to say, like I don't know about you, but there were so many times in this match where I wanted Traci Brooks to just beat up Alisha Edwards. But she got her upcomings when she got that kendo stick, or as Alisha Edwards called it, Kendra, and she attacked her in the ring. But then, even with that, Eddie Edwards was still victorious. He hit because the ref went down, and Eddie Edwards managed to hit Frankie Kazarian with the kendo stick, and then he hit him with the Boston Knee Party. So he was victorious. So he won the rubber match. Now, do you think there's a possibility we might get a mixed tag match out of this? You know, Eddie Edwards and Alisha versus Frankie Kazarian and Traci Brooks? Or what are your thoughts on this match? Eddie Edwards winning and the possibility of getting a mixed tag match.
Yeah, I could totally see that just because, what went down in the match. But I'm glad to see Eddie Edwards just get a big win. And and Kazarian's a legend. And Eddie Edwards is in his own right a legend. He's been with the company so long. But yeah, no, I thought I didn't expect much from this match, but I really enjoyed it after it was said and done.
Same. All right, so after this is the Knockouts World Title match, Deonna Purrazzo versus Trinity. But we already talked about that at the beginning. We also did talk about the Impact World Title match, Shelley versus Nick Aldis. So we're going to go ahead and stop here for the review. But I have to say, overall, I thought Slammiversary was a very enjoyable pay-per-view with some really good matches. Now, there wasn't no match that felt like that was, how can I say it? Like, all the matches just thought were great. You?
No, this show for me was a 9 out of 10. The only thing that affected it to me was the short X Division match, just because I'm always thinking that that's going to be the match of the night, just because of it's the X Division. So, but me saying it was 9 out of 10 doesn't mean that that's a bad show. You know what I mean? 9 out of 10 is a 90%. So, I really love this show. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, me too. And I do have to agree with you about the X Division title match. That's like the one smudge on this pay-per-view, if I have to say. Again, we don't know if Chris Sabin was legitimately hurt and they had to just change everything on the fly, or if that was the plan. We don't know. So we'll find out in the coming days. But we had 5 out of 6 title changes tonight, and you know what? I'm really happy. It seems like Impact hit the reset button, and we're gonna get a bunch of new stuff, fresh feuds. So I'm really excited. You?
Yeah, no. I never expect to get that many title changes, but
Same.
At the same time, like you just said, you summed it better than I could have said. It's like it was like a season finale going into a season premiere almost, just because it's a reset. It's a chance for new feuds, new matches, new rivalries. So I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, you guys, Bert, before we get sign off, is there anything else you want to say before?
No, thank you for having me. And again, we'll be back. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll be going into the rankings, talking a little bit more about it. So I'm excited.
Tomorrow? You mean Tuesday?
Yes, exactly. I forgot.
It's okay. But anywho, you guys, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified not only when this video drops, or whenever I go live. Also, too, feel free to check out my friends over at TNA IW, Bert, myself, and our third co-host, Lucha. Like I said earlier, we do the Go-Go Power Rankings. We do that every Tuesday. And of course, TNA IW does have a lot of cool content that they have available. Make sure you check that out. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.